Now, how important is your dad in your life, or how important was your dad in your life? Did you spend a lot of time together? Do you? Next month, Stroud's going to become home for the first local Lads and Dads Club. What a great idea. I love this. A new club then aims specifically to strengthen the bond between fathers and sons and get them to spend quality and fun time, frankly, together. From camping to kayaking and cooking to a day at the zoo, they can take part in many different activities together. Founder Phil Pryer joins me in the studio, as does his 14-year-old son, Daniel. Good morning to you both.
Hi, Anna.
I'm sure you've never heard what I'm going to say, which is you look almost like just spookily like each other. Could you ever be spotted as anybody other than your father's son, Daniel? Do people say that all the time to you?
Too many times.
The poor boy's got an affliction, and it's all down to me. Poor lad.
It's amazing. We'll try and catch a picture of you later. It's just spooky how alike you are. So, Phil, how did this idea come about then?
Well, I started years ago now. So Daniel and I found ourselves alone on holiday, and we had spent, 10 days or so just having fun, playing on the beach, doing that sort of thing, riding bikes and what have you. And we'd spent so much time together that Daniel, about after a week and a half, just turned to me one day. He was only 9 years old, and he said, Dad, it feels like we've really got closer together on this holiday. Now, when you hear that kind of thing from a 9-year-old, that's a real sort of lump in the throat moment, and he's sort of squirming with embarrassment there at the moment. But yeah, it really kind of changed the way I was thinking at the time, and decided to make him the real focus for the next couple of years or so. And we just spent lots of time doing cool stuff, just simple stuff. And I often found myself playing with him and then realising that actually we could have so much more fun if we got more people together. So I'd get some of his friends together and, take them down the park, load them up with water pistols and sandwiches and that sort of thing. But then I'd find myself holding the coats, which is really boring.
You were itching, weren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a middle-aged man chasing 8-year-olds around the park with a water pistol. It can start to look a little bit clumsy after a while. So then I tried to get a few dads together to do stuff, and when that happened, it worked really well. But making that happen was really, really hard. So I was looking around for fathers groups and that sort of thing, and they just don't exist. So I came up with this idea and kicked it around with a few friends down the pub, and they all said, yeah, great idea. So I decided to make it happen.
Daniel, as far as you're concerned, people looking in might say, God, you've got the coolest dad ever. But I mean, but notoriously we don't see that when it's our own father. So
yeah,
could you
say that?
Could you see that he was onto something good, or we're like, oh, Dad, don't?
When he first started off, and I kind of thought it was a bit of a weird thing, I didn't really think, because I was young, I didn't really know that, people don't really get to spend a lot of time together nowadays. Thought it was a bit of a silly idea, to be honest. Didn't really think anyone would be interested in it. Didn't think anyone would find it necessary. But now that, I've seen what the results of this can actually be, fathers spending more time with their sons and stuff. And, we've done a lot more since this has started. I think it is actually important for, a place where people can do that. Because, you don't have a lot of time for yourself to be sorting these things out.
Yeah. It's lovely that it started when Daniel was 9, and that was one of those moments when he said that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I suppose, I don't know if it's still the same, because obviously working practices are changing, but for generations, the dad would be, breadwinner, leaving the house early, getting back late, possibly doing paperwork when he got home or taking phone calls. And there wasn't a lot of time to spend with children, sons or daughters. And that may or may not be changing, but that's the difficulty, isn't it?
Well, that was true, certainly for my generation. I grew up very much sort of learning to play on my own. And playing out and all that kind of stuff, and the things that we enjoyed in the 1970s and what have you. Kids today, there's so many screens that it's very easy just to leave the kid in front of the screen and get on with what you've really got to do. You've got to get that work done. You've got to get that call made, and so on and so forth. But there's also something else going on. there is a growing recognition around society that, fathers are important, that they are increasingly important. In fact, there's an increasing awareness that they're not just important, that they are equal. They are the other half of the parenting solution. And to enable parents to do that, to enable fathers to do that, you've got to change the dynamic of the way people work together. So, women have had this fantastic revolution over the past 30 or 40 years. They're now, in the workplace, they're really leading the way. And men have got to catch up, and they've got to get into a place where they equally have the opportunity to stay at home, to do the parenting and all the rest of it. And this is part of that.
So I'm looking at the advert for the first one, and clearly it looks very cool. Come build and race a dragster. I mean, why? Is anybody not going to want to do that with a great picture in front as well? But deciding what to put into this and what people want to do, what the lads want to do, what the dads want to do, must be blissful, isn't it? Trying to work that out. Daniel's got a big smile on his face. Has he had input on this one?
Where we are at the moment, we're just doing stuff that I like, So as the club develops, we'll get ideas, and other people have better ideas and all that kind of stuff. But I like making cars out of elastic bands and cardboard and all that kind of stuff. So we'll go and build a dragster and have some fun with that. We've got a helium airship build coming up, and we've got stuff going on outside. We're going to do some bushcraft skills, some firelighting, that sort of thing. And I want to get some boys cooking as well.
Which of those is appealing to you, Daniel? Any of that?
I like the bushcraft skills, because I've always been interested in the more trekky side of stuff, like going on big walks, camping over and stuff like that. So I think, if you did a certain, number of skills, and then maybe did a big camp at the end of a few months or something, I think that'll be pretty good.
A big summer camp of some kind. That's a great idea, Dan. We'll do that. Brilliant. Well
there
done.
You go.
You
See, you heard it first here. And in genuinely, though, that in all seriousness, is there a suggestion? Because you could say, well, why aren't we doing this, with daughters? But is there a suggestion that if you don't capture a son and get that relationship solid early, then it's lost for good?
Well, there's two things going on here. So first of all, yeah, absolutely. Sons need role models, and that's kind of where this idea has come from. We've got a lot of young men at the moment who are growing up, learning how to be men from the other boys around them, because the dads are not available, not around, or whatever. And so we need to fix that, and we need to provide very male-oriented environments that enable boys to see their own father, but also other fathers, and how they interact and how they behave, so that they can learn to be men. Children need to learn how to be adults, and part of that is being in a group of adults that are relevant to them. And for boys, that relevant group is men. But also, we're focused on the fathers here and getting them engaged with their children. So bringing their daughters along is also important. I get this question a lot about what about the girls, what about the women? And bringing the girls along is important, because they also need to see men as role models. So, they're learning about men as they grow towards adulthood, and learning about the kind of men that they might get together with as partners or husbands later on. So they definitely need to have that experience as well. And then finally, we've got this other group of boys who are growing up with their mums, and there's no dad around. Now, for a single mother who's trying to raise a boy and give him the opportunity to have exposure to a strong male role model, that's very hard. So if a single mum can bring her son along to one of these groups, then there's an environment there which can really support her goals in that area.
Really interesting to meet you both. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm hoping, if you're willing, we can get a picture of you before you go, because you are so alike. It'd be great to put it on a Facebook page if you're up for it. Lovely. ladsanddadsclub.com. Excellent adventures for fathers and sons, and there's a great picture of a dragster on the front. Why wouldn't you, eh? The first meeting is at Stroud Old Town Hall. That's on the 4th of October from 10 till 12 midday, and the first session is free. Find out more at ladsanddadsclub.com.